waking up on this Black Friday after a white Thanksgiving because we've got a lot of snow out there in some places.
Oh, and a little bit colder than it was just a couple days ago.
Right.
A little bit.
Are you Black Friday shopping? Because if you are, hopefully you're bundled up in some places. Thanks for sticking with us here on the Weather Channel. We've got Chris Warren, Felicia Combs. We're breaking it all down for you. And of course, edging toward the end of hurricane season, more snow for some. So let's talk about what. If you get to be out there and make snowballs like Jordan is, not so much fun if you're on the roadways. I mean, look at this shot from Erie, Pennsylvania right now. You've got snow-covered cars. You've got snow on top of some of those cars. I can see it's still coming down in a big way. And you can obviously tell that the roads have been cleared a bit, but they are not perfectly clear. So that is the situation that we're seeing there in Erie right now. And that's not even within one of the lake effect snow bands. So maybe not the best time to be out on the roadways. I would just wait around and let it pass there. So we've got lake effect snow across the Great Lakes region. I was just checking Traverse City, Michigan here. You're down to about a mile of visibility. You've got those winds cranking over 15 miles per hour. Heavy snow right now in Watertown, Erie. You've got some snow as well. So you can really see that the lake effect snow is the big story across this region. Whether you've got the winter storm warning, the lake effect snow warning, or the winter weather advisory, the takeaway from a lot of these is treacherous travel conditions. I mean, I would not want to be on the roads, especially in some of these lake effect snow bands. The setup that we've got below average temperatures, that is exactly what we're seeing across this region. We've got very deep cold throughout the atmosphere, very warm water, warm relatively. You don't want to swim in this, but record warm lake temperatures right now. So combine that with the very cold air over top of the lakes, especially with a long fetch with the wind the way we're getting here, and you get quite a bit of lake effect snow. In fact, in some places, we're going to have feet of snow around Tug Hill Plateau region. You can see here around Erie. So we are going to watch that snow continue to add up. In Girard, you've already had over a foot of snow. This is 16.5 inches report of snow there just next to the lake. That is the 12-hour snowfall total. Jefferson, 10.5 inches, so already in the double digits. A couple more snow reports here. South Madison, your 12-hour snowfall report on nearly 9 inches. Union City, about 5.5. So you can see that is going far from just that 90 corridor or right next to the lake. It's far reaching. Really not a great idea to be traveling I-90 today or tomorrow, really, because at any time that lake effect snow can really pick up and reduce the visibility. Maybe a better go of it would be I-80 here if you need to take that route. Obviously, it's going to be longer in terms of distance, but it could be shorter in terms of time because you're not going to be dealing with the intensity of those lake effect snow bands. Of course, we know they can still reach all the way to I-80, but it's not going to be as intense as if you were right there near the lake. So some of the totals that we're seeing, I know we have 2 to 3 feet on here, but some of the forecasts around the Tug Hill region are for up to 5 feet. Around Erie, maybe up to a couple feet, but you can see how big of a difference the wind direction makes, because Cleveland, you're getting a couple inches out of this, and that's because we're not expecting you to be kind of in that wind direction as long as, say, Erie will be, or in between Watertown and Syracuse there. You'll notice this is a part of the setup for all of the lakes, though. So whether you're in Grand Rapids, Buffalo, Watertown, any of those places dealing with that lake effect snow. And as you can see, this isn't a short-term event. This is lasting into next week as well. So this is really going to add up, Chris. There are going to be feet of snow for a lot of places.
Yeah, here we go. Welcome to winter here at the very end of November at the Great Lakes. Let's take a look right now at some of the time.
No offense to the weird.
Sometimes it's us.
Sometimes I'm the weird
it's all
cousin.
perspective.
So it's all about perspective. But yeah, hopefully you're stuck in your house with feet of snow in the forecast with people that you really like. All right, let's talk about the cold, because it is going to be getting cold across the country. Those temperatures, those freezing temperatures diving southward. Over 200 million people with temperatures below freezing tomorrow, Sunday, Monday. Some of us are already feeling the cold. I bundled up this morning. Temperatures right now, single digits in Bismarck and Fargo. 19 in Sioux Falls, 22 in Madison. That is not telling you the full story, though, guys. Look at the winds. So the winds are at about 10 to 15 miles per hour, really gusty here in Duluth, gusting to 28, gusting to 32 in Green Bay. Ooh, can feel it. I can feel that cold wind when I talk about the wind gusts in Green Bay right now. And just look at this. It feels like 9 degrees in Green Bay because of that wind chill. What was the actual temperature? Actual temperature was not in the single digits. Feels like below 0 in Bismarck and Fargo. Des Moines, lucky number 7? No, not lucky today. That's what it feels like in Des Moines and Sioux Falls. Tomorrow morning, now these are the actual temperatures tomorrow morning. This is not the wind chill. Your actual temperature here, Fargo, Bismarck down below 0. Des Moines, Peoria, North Platte, you're all in the teens. And then Sunday morning, same thing. Now, it is going to moderate a tiny, tiny bit. At least in Fargo, you're above 0, but still in the teens in Des Moines. Green Bay, 15 degrees is what you're waking up to Sunday morning. And then Monday, it's going to warm up. No, it's not. I'm sorry. It's still just as cold. Look, Sioux Falls down to 10 degrees. Chicago, 18 degrees for you. So some of us are actually seeing those temperatures. The intensity of the cold get even worse. Let's talk more about that wind chill, because sometimes I think it's the wind chill that makes even more of a difference than, say, the actual temperature, because that's what you're feeling if you're getting out there. Saturday morning, it feels like -7 in Minneapolis. 5 degrees is what it's going to feel like in Des Moines. Madison, goose egg for you. That is your feels like temperature for Sunday morning. And then you'll notice it doesn't improve a whole lot throughout the afternoon into Monday morning either. In Sioux Falls, you're feeling like 2 degrees. And Valentine, it feels like 6 degrees as you're waking up. So big bundling up, big time, lots of layers. That's how you combat the wind chill. Chicago, look at this. The wind chill forecast finally getting into the double digits for what it feels like in Chicago by lunchtime tomorrow. But man, this is the type of cold where it's like, Chris, you just got to cover up basically all of your exposed skin.
Yeah, every inch for
every
sure.
Single inch.
Even as far south as the South and parts of Florida, it feels like mountain air has arrived.
It has, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
in 4 months. Speaking of that, I have some plans I need to water now, but maybe that's what you're feeling, and this could be what you're feeling if you're headed to Iowa City. This is about 10 to 15 degrees below average. So even though we're used to the cold, this is really cold.
Yeah, and if you're staying in and watching football this weekend, today and this weekend, maybe a humidifier. You can pull one of those out. That helps, especially if you have a hard time sleeping when it's so dry.
I swear by my humidifier. It's going to feel like the single digits by 10 o'clock here in Iowa City. This has the potential of being one of the coldest games that they've played there in Iowa City. I mean, you can see the forecast would put us in about, what, third place here?
You're going down. I mean, the record's 15 degrees, and number 5 spot's 25.
So you're definitely probably going to be
getting close
in the top 5 for the coldest games played here. Let's head to Athens with the Yellow Jackets taking on the Bulldogs. This actually looks warm compared to the 20s.
Until you realize it's in Georgia.
Right, exactly.
In those 30s, there's going to be, that's a huge difference. Sunshine in 48. And then after the sun goes down and you're making your way home.
Yeah, you're going to feel that difference big time. It's definitely one of those games that you're going to want to put extra layers on for. To College Station, Texas, Longhorns taking on the Aggies. I know that 63 to 57 doesn't sound so bad when we've been talking about the teens and 20s, but for Texas, this is chilly.
It's also chilly, yeah. It's almost forward in the 40s, almost.
It's all about perspective. I know if you're in Minnesota right now, you'd be like, those 50s sound really nice. To Columbus with the Wolverines taking on Ohio State.
The wind chills.
That's what's going to get you there.
Bundle up. Most people think of when they say snow day.
It's a no day, usually. Thanks for sticking with us. Chris Warren, Felicia Combs here on Weather Channel Live. Now, we're talking a lot about the Great Lakes region, but you'll notice it's not an issue everywhere. I mean, actually, you know what? Is this, I want to make sure this is, Buffalo, New York. And because we've got several days of this ahead, you can see whether it's the winter storm warning, the lake effect snow warning, or the winter weather advisory. All of those are put out for a reason, and that's to keep you safe. And we've got some of this lake effect snow just absolutely cranking here across the UP, where you're seeing some of those darker blues. That is indicative of some really heavy snow. So you've got some of that visibility around Traverse City down below a mile. You've got some greatly reduced visibility here for portions of that I-75 corridor moving through Michigan. Some of the snowfall that we've seen in the past 24 hours, the darker purples, 12 to 18 inches. So it has been just absolutely cranking with that lake effect snow. Same thing as we look at the southern portions of Lake Michigan. Grand Rapids, this is that type of snow. This is an oh no day if you're driving in Grand Rapids. Kalamazoo, you're getting some heavy snow as well. And then we're this lake effect snow action stretching all the way down south of Fort Wayne, Indianapolis getting some snow out of the system as a whole. And then you can just see the smattering of lake effect snow that we're watching here along Lake Erie as well. Snow, not lake effect snow, but snow in Pittsburgh. You've got some of those light snow showers, and sometimes it's those light snow showers that are the worst for travel because maybe you don't even realize that it's getting slick, that you're getting some snow on the roadways, and that can cause some big issues. This also is a big issue. I mean, look at this. Look at that spout of snow across the I-90 corridor here off of Lake Erie. Some of the snowfall totals that we've seen, I mean, up over a foot in a lot of places already, and this is just beginning. Look at that wind direction. This is the perfect fetch coming off of Lake Ontario onto that higher elevation of the Tug Hill Plateau around Watertown and south of Watertown, and really allowing that to add up. I mean, up over a foot or near a foot already, and we've got days of this ahead to go. A wider view does show that big area of that system that we're watching, Chris. And of course, this is going to impact other portions of the country in the form of temperature. So let's take a look at a place like Atlanta, where that temperature fell throughout the day yesterday, Chris. And all it takes is one storm that can make all the difference. And sadly, this season we saw multiple storms.
Yeah, and it's complicated too because busy isn't always bad, slow isn't always good, but conventional wisdom kind of tells you the more there is, the more chances.
That's right. You see it here, 18 named storms this season, which of course is above average, with several making landfall and then some records set as well.
Yeah, first time on record with 3 October hurricanes happening at the same time.
Just absolutely crazy. We haven't seen anything like that. And of course, as we know, the season stretched so long. But one of the first storms to start off the season was Beryl. This, a Category 1. You might think, oh, no big deal. This storm did become a hurricane and then a major hurricane pretty quickly. This was back June 29th. Beryl becomes a hurricane. And then I remember watching this intensify to a Category 4 as it approached the islands and being like, oh, my goodness.
And there it goes through the Windward Islands here in the Lesser Antilles. Category 4 making landfall here as it continued to move over now into the Caribbean Sea and just getting larger in scope and size, and still a Category 4.
Yeah, and then of course that interaction with the Yucatan Peninsula making landfall around Tulum as a Category 2 before it reemerged into the Gulf and made landfall there in Texas. And we saw in some of that imagery just like the type of wind that barracking as it was making
and
landfall.
A lot of severe weather also as it came onshore in Texas and up into Louisiana.
We also had Debbie. When you're talking about a storm like Debbie that we're watching, and it's you know, where will it go? How strong will it be? Because the waters of the Gulf were so anomalously warm. This was kind of setting the tone for this hurricane season there in the Big Bend region.
Yeah, and this after a relatively quiet July.
Right.
Right, and then things changing big time here as it eventually got all the way up, and we saw with the heavy rain and the flooding all the way up here, making landfall in Florida, but all the way up through the Carolinas and into the Northeast with some serious rainfall.
I mean, the forecast that was coming along with Debbie was for feet of rain that proportion.
As we look at its history here, we're in September, and there it goes.
Peak of hurricane season, September 9th and 10th. You're watching as this system is moving toward making landfall there in Louisiana. Now, this system kind of dissipated a little bit more, kind of washed out more quickly than some of the other ones that we saw this season.
And a reminder that it's not always the wind that causes the big problems, the rain, which we have seen and did see again later on, and that includes Helene. But Francine here with some strong winds, the rain and the winds. And again, the next one we're looking at is Helene. And you see down here in the Caribbean, something to watch, potential, then there it is, going very close to Cancun and then strengthening as it moved up and again into the Big Bend area here.
And, you know, with Helene, we had flooding in places like Tampa. It's that wind direction and that storm surge flooding. So it was just such a tough time for the Gulf Coast of Florida for this hurricane season. But I think the images out of, you know, eastern Tennessee, Asheville, just will never be forgotten when you're talking about that kind of rainfall.
Remarkable amount of rain at Vero Beach as well. So let's take a look here at the recap with this one. We're watching it out there. It was a will it or won't it, just kind of hanging out for a while, and it did, and then eventually getting close to the Yucatan and then all the way up into Florida.
Still in turkey coma. That's what I need to know from everyone right now.
Or some, maybe stuffing and or the direct. You're stuffing or dressing, however you want to call it, and potatoes, and then turkey was a little bit of it, I think.
I'm like a ham girl. If I'm gonna be like just full of anything, it's gonna be ham. That sounds really weird. Anyways, thanks for hanging out with us here on Weather Channel Live. Chris Warren, Felicia Combs. I hope your Thanksgiving was wonderful. Maybe you're just getting back from some Black Friday shopping.
Yeah.
You're seeing that in Jordan's shot, what it looks like where we're getting that lake effect snow band. I just want to take a second to show you Buffalo, New York. When we showed this up, because Buffalo looking way different than, say, Erie, and I'll show you why here. Because we are not getting hit by that band. That band is just south of Buffalo right now. So Erie getting heavy snow. You guys are getting pummeled. You can see around the Tug Hill Plateau, and then just a ton of that lake effect snow impacting portions, cities east of Lake Michigan. We've got our winter warnings up. We've got lake effect snow warnings, winter storm warnings, and winter weather advisories across this region, and for good reason, because that lake effect snow is going to snarl any type of travel you might be doing, and it's putting down a ton of snow. We've got below average air temperatures and above average record warm lake temperatures. The combination of that with a good wind direction coming off of these lakes is just bringing us copious amounts of this lake effect snow across the Great Lakes region. And of course, as I just showed you with that shot out of Buffalo, it's all dependent on wind direction as to where we're going to get the highest snowfall totals. I mean, look at this total here in Girard. This is the 12-hour snowfall total up at about 16.5 inches, and that was from a little while ago. So I would bet we are probably up at a 1.5 feet now there, just to the southwest of Erie. Union City, 5.5 inches, well to the east of I-90. Meanwhile, we've got 10-inch snowfall here near the lake and near 9 inches south Madison. So we're really seeing that snow add up. So I-90, probably not the road you want to be on today or tomorrow really either. You can take a different path. You can go down and go to I-80. Of course, it's adding many miles onto your travel, but it could cut down on some of the time, because I would bet that if the traffic is moving fine on I-90, it's going very, very slow. The forecast is for an additional couple more feet on top of what we've already seen. Some of the totals here south of Watertown could come out to be around 5 feet of snow. We're talking about feet of snow between Buffalo and Erie. I'm combining the cities into one, apparently. So yeah, we are going to be watching this lake effect snow for the coming days throughout the rest of today, throughout tomorrow. Here's Saturday morning. Take a look at Sunday morning. You'll notice we're still seeing many of the same areas getting that lake effect snow. And here's Monday. Still going. We've got this for days and days and days to come, so it's going to be quite some time before we are out of this pattern. Some of the totals that we've seen: Sault Ste. Marie here in Michigan, nearly a foot. Edgewood, Ohio, about 10 inches. And I want to show you Geneva, Ohio here on Lake Erie. I mean, look at that. Does that not look like a winter wonderland? If you've ever seen one, you can kind of see the little trail going out to the gazebo here. And then also you can see how wavy the lake is there. I mean, the wind's just generating so much wave action, Chris, which is something we talk about a lot, you know, when you're talking about tropical systems, but also these winter systems producing that lake effect. That wind energy is a big deal.
We'll probably have some wavy conditions in Buffy too, I would imagine, Felicia. Yeah. I like that too. I'm going to take a look now at Rocky and feet of snow.
That's so much snow. And typically kind of this time of year, it's still not so cold in like the south that you can kind of look at that and be like, man, that's not fun for you guys. But it's getting cold all the way to the Gulf Coast right now. So not a whole lot of winter snickering going on in places like New Orleans and Tallahassee right now, because that cold is really reaching very far south, all the way to the Gulf Coast. Over 200 million people with actual temperatures, actual morning temperatures falling below freezing. But I want to talk to you about why the temperature is important, but also why the wind you're getting will make such a difference. Okay, so take a look here. Duluth, we've got wind at 17 miles per hour, gusts at 29, Green Bay 16 miles per hour, 25. Even a place like Des Moines, not super gusty, but you've got winds at 13 miles per hour. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's where we're getting some of the wind. So Des Moines, you're sitting at 22 degrees. This is your actual temperature right now. Duluth, you're sitting at 17. That's already cold enough. That's already like freeze your tongue to the to the, what is it? The flagpole
flagpole
type of weather instantly.
Don't do that.
Right, exactly. But you factor in that wind that we're getting, and it's taking 16 degrees off. So your actual temperature in Duluth is 17, but it feels like 1 degree. Des Moines, it's taking 12 degrees off. So you can see just what an impact that wind is making on how cold it feels out there. So you got to take that into account when you're heading out. Tomorrow morning, these are your actual temperatures down below zero in Bismarck and Fargo. Des Moines, you're down in the teens, as well as Peoria and Chicago. And then we're not ending it there. Sunday, we still have these temperatures in the single digits and teens across the northern plains, around the Midwest as well. And then into Monday morning, it just does not get much better. This is not one of those quick cold snaps like we've been having. This is one of those cold snaps that's sticking around. And then we're just going to throw in a little wind as well, just to add insult to injury, right? I mean, it feels like the single digits and below zero. This is kind of an insulting number right here. Saturday morning in Fargo, it feels like negative 18 degrees. Like, to fathom feeling like negative 18 degrees, it seems like it should stop at some point. Like, I can't feel any colder than like -2. But nope, that's not the case. It's gonna feel like even -3 for your Monday morning. In Chicago, by the time you're getting to tomorrow afternoon, the sun is out, it's shining, but it feels like the teens for your lunch hour. So I don't know. I think I'm staying inside in Chicago this weekend if I were there, Chris.
Felicia, you mentioned the tongue on the flagpole. That, I think, is the visual equivalent of scratching the chalkboard, right?
I can
Seeing
hear
that,
it,
it's like it just kind of gives me chills.
I'm sorry, I
almost.
just put you through that. Then I won't say that next hour.
But it's that cold. You got to go.
Country's getting, because it's just as cold for portions.
They're feeling it too. Yeah.
I mean, they're not feeling this. They're not feeling a wind chill in the single digits like in Iowa City, but
7.
right. That's happening today.
So right here, kickoff at 6:30 in Iowa City. So you're looking at here, 21, 20 degrees, maybe 19. That's kind of what we're looking at for kickoff.
It's going to be just brutal out there. And this could actually be one of the coldest Iowa games that we've seen. I mean, you can see the temperatures here. I'd say falling somewhere between second and third, right? Oh, man. I mean, it's just going to be cold enough, regardless of whether you're in that top 5, but it does look like you'll be in that top 5.
You might give me an eraser. I did a little,
let's see here.
Smudging it up here.
I'll send you my bill.
Okay,
there we go.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Racing bill. The Yellow Jackets taking on the Bulldogs. 49 and sunny, bearable with the right clothes.
Yeah.
It's when that sun goes down that you're really going to feel that difference.
Yeah, you are. So at halftime, maybe getting the hot chocolate line maybe a little early. Yeah, you're going to feel it.
You are going to really want to be where the sunshine is while the sun is still up.
I think another thing, in Georgia or here in Ohio, it's one thing to be out for a few minutes, temperatures in the 30s and 20s, but a whole game.
And sitting. You better be.
Sitting.
Hopefully your team is winning at this game here in Columbus, because then you can at least get up and like cheer and get the blood pumping a little bit. You don't want to be just sitting. Wind chill of in the teens throughout this entire
And the other thing that I learned firsthand last year was when you are in a very cold stadium with the concrete, it sucks the heat out of your body.
Most important thing is some warm socks and
warm
boots.
socks, something there, yeah.
Wool socks. If no one's ever told you, here's me telling you today. Get some wool socks, maybe a couple pairs of them. Let's see, the Razorbacks
Missouri,
taking on the Tigers. Yeah, that is today. That is, I think we're kicking off on that right about now. What time is it? Yeah, so we're getting ready to kick off on this. That is a chilly game. Sun is shining, but that wind chill.
Ooh, in the 20s. Stay warm and be safe when you're out in the cold, too. But when it's really, really cold, it's drier and the snow doesn't stick to stuff as easily.
I learned something the other day working with Paul. It was something about stick on a stick on a stick. I'll have to, something about the snow sticking on sticks.
I just got hungry. I don't know why.
If the snow sticks on the sticks, it stick on the ground because it's too warm. Is what I learned.
Because in the snow, I'm sorry, but the snow sticks because it is so warm, they're partially melting.
Right, exactly.
And there's the little water on the edge of the flake sticks together. So that's a good point.
And then it's like snow glue.
Will you say it again one more time?
It sticks on a stick on a stick. I don't know.
If it sticks on a stick, it's not going to stick.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. If it doesn't stick, it will stick. Now that we thoroughly confused you, I'm Felicia Combs.
I'm sorting it out. I think I got it.
What I want to show you, and what is blowing my mind, though, is look at Buffalo, New York. No snow.
Right? Yeah.
And it's making all the difference. You're sitting at 36 degrees right now. Meantime, let's talk about where we do have that lake effect snow going on. And that is, as I just mentioned, just south of Buffalo, where we've got some of those lake effect snow warnings in place, winter storm warnings as well. It is a mess for a place like Erie currently, and a mess around the Great Lakes region. You've got that heavy snow moving across I-75. This is something that you can't do anything about. You can salt the roads all you want. You can have as many plows as you want. When the visibility is down to less than a mile, you can't do anything about it to make it any safer to be on the roads. And that's why we say if you shouldn't be out and about. I mean, the snow is just continuing to add up there. East of Traverse City up to about a foot and a half. Heavy snow coming down for Muskegon, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, some heavy snow just to the west of you. And then you can see outside of the lake effect snow, we've got a smattering of snow across the Ohio Valley. Places like Pittsburgh, you've got some showers moving through. We really have a very strong cold pool associated with this system that we're watching, and that is resulting in some snow, even if you're not necessarily at freezing with your ground temperature. Now, here's what I was just talking about. Look at Buffalo. I just showed you. There's nothing happening there. It looks like Atlanta, basically, like Chris said. And that's because the lake effect snow just, a couple miles south of Buffalo. And that's what we're saying and how quickly those conditions can change. Because, I mean, look at this. So you can see where that lake effect snow is moving through. And Erie, Pennsylvania, this is what it looks like in Erie with all of that snow. So a huge difference there. And you know what? It is one of those things where could change very quickly and become dangerous very quickly as well. Another place that is actually Atlanta is Atlanta, and it's sitting at 49 degrees. But all it takes is one storm that can make all the difference. And sadly, this season we saw multiple storms.
Yeah, and it's complicated too, because busy isn't always bad, slow isn't
Right.
always good, but conventional wisdom kind of tells you the more there is, the more chances.
That's right. You see it here, 18 named storms this season, which of course is above average, with several making landfall and then some records set as well.
Yeah, first time on record with 3 October hurricanes happening at the same time.
Just absolutely crazy. We haven't seen anything like that. And of course, as we know, the season stretched so long. But one of the first storms to start off the season was Beryl. And this storm kind of kicked off the season in a big way.
And you can see some of the damage that was done here in Galveston, where some of the stronger winds came through. And up and down the Texas coast, really seeing some significant damage.
Yeah, when you're talking about for Texas, a Category 1, you might think, oh, no big deal. This storm did become a hurricane and then a major hurricane pretty quickly. This was back June 29th, Beryl becomes a hurricane. And then I remember watching this intensify to a Category 4 as it approached the islands and being like, oh, my goodness.
And there it goes through the Windward Islands here in the Lesser Antilles. Category 4 making landfall here as it continued to move over now into the Caribbean Sea and just getting larger in scope and size, and still a Category 4.
Yeah, and then of course that interaction with the Yucatan Peninsula making landfall around Tulum as a Category 2 before it reemerged into the Gulf and made landfall there in Texas. And we saw in some of that imagery just like the type of wind that Beryl as it was making
and
landfall.
A lot of severe weather also as it came onshore in Texas and up into Louisiana.
We also had Debbie. That's another. When you're talking about a storm like Debbie that we're watching, and it's where will it go? How strong will it be? Because the waters of the Gulf were so anomalously warm. This was kind of setting the tone for this hurricane season there in the Big Bend region.
Yeah, and this after a relatively quiet July.
Right.
Right, and then things changing big time here as it eventually got all the way up, and we saw with the heavy rain and the flooding all the way up here, making landfall in Florida, but all the way up through the Carolinas and into the Northeast with some serious rainfall.
I mean, the forecast that was coming along with Debbie was for feet of rain there for portions of
We look at its history here. We're in September, and there it goes.
Peak of hurricane season, September 9th and 10th. You're watching as this system is moving toward making landfall there in Louisiana. Now, this system kind of dissipated a little bit more, kind of washed out more quickly than some of the other ones that we saw this season.
And a reminder that it's not always the wind that causes the big problems.
Right.
The rain, which we have seen and did see again later on, and that includes Helene. But Francine here with some strong winds, the rain and the winds. And again, the next one we're looking at is Helene. And You see down here in the Caribbean, something to watch, potential, then there it is. Going very close to Cancun and then strengthening as it moved up and again into the Big Bend area here.
And, you know, with Helene, we had flooding in places like Tampa. It's that wind direction and that storm surge flooding. So it was just such a tough time for the Gulf Coast of Florida for this hurricane season. But I think the images out of, you know, eastern Tennessee, Asheville, just will never be forgotten when you're talking about that kind of rainfall.
Remarkable amount of rain and to Vero Beach as well. So let's take a look here at the recap with this one. We were watching it out there. It was a will it or won't it, just kind of hanging out for a while, and it did, and then eventually getting close.
You are in full recovery mode from your full belly from Thanksgiving dinner at this point.
And in full-on Hollywood mood. The vibe is out there, and the weather is screaming the holidays, too.
Oh, 100%. And in some places, it's screaming, winter, Christmas, not Thanksgiving at all. Thanks for sticking with us here on Weather Channel Live. Chris Warren, Felicia Combs. We're going to break down everything for you, where we've got the snow coming down, where it's going to be very cold. You know.